Hi guys, and welcome back to Honey We're Home. I am Caroline Crawford Patterson.
And I'm Nicole Pellegrino.
And we are so excited for today's episode. How are you feeling?
Sorry, a stark difference in the sound. The air
When the
just went
AC
off.
goes off.
I malfunctioned
You
to
look
that.
so pretty today.
Well, thank you so much because I really appreciate that. Because my skin, as you all know, my skin is truly just a constant struggle. And it is genuinely the worst it's ever been right now. I have about 5 pounds of face makeup on. And I don't like doing foundation if I don't have to.
Oh yeah, neither of us are big foundation girls, which is something we've never really discussed.
I know, it's so interesting because back if you look photos at me in high school, I was a foundation girly.
But I I don't think a lot of great concealers used to exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there weren't a lot of other options besides like you could do like the Bobbi Brown tinted moisturizer or whatever. Or like a full foundation, and there was like no one really taught us how to use the tinted moisturizer with the concealer combo.
Yes, and that's like my everyday go-to now.
Yeah.
It's a tinted moisturizer. Not even sometimes I
don't even do it anymore.
The Merit stick, and I just buff it out like
that's
on any
nice.
blemishes, especially during the summer when I have a little face tan. But this week,
Yeah.
I'm just after the family weekends, the Labor Day weekend, I was eating like a 12-year-old who had just escaped from preschool.
Yeah,
I really that made no sense, but I'm eating like dairy gluten whore.
Oh yeah, you've been eating a lot of gluten
and dairy,
and I have not. And you know, I downloaded the Day Sense app for gluten because I felt like it would help me get more excited about like how long I've done without gluten. And I think I'm almost at like 5 weeks, which I'm excited about.
Well,
so, but now I'm like, because I can see it as a tracker, jealous. I feel invested in keeping the score like going up.
Yeah. That app is smart. I was doing that when I wasn't drinking, and then it lasted for like a total of 3.5 minutes. But
yeah,
it does track smart. Maybe I'll do that. Well, this is a quick plug moment for fun. The Hive in Hoboken, they did a little collab with Electric Picks, an amazing jewelry brand I've been wearing all summer. And they sent me...
Didn't we say we would like to have her on Ladies Who Lunch?
Oh, we want to have MJ on one of the founders.
Yeah.
They sent me their brand new cinnamon bun. It's banana pudding flavored. You know, the New York girlies will know. The Magnolia...
Is it gluten-free?
Oh, no. It was full of gluten. Oh, no. But, like, since I don't have celiac, I haven't been... my self-diagnosed intolerance to gluten... When you put a banana pudding flavored cinnamon bun in front of me, what am I supposed to do?
Okay, speaking of, Nikki won Friend of the Week because I woke up on my birthday on Monday. That was my birthday, I think. Yes. Okay, I woke up. And my door buzzes, and this guy drops off like a 45-pound bag of all of these gluten-free things. It's like... a 6 gluten-free bagels. Then there's a whole different one that's like a hummus and cucumber sandwich bagel.
So good.
And then there's like a bacon, egg, and cheese, which was the best bacon, egg, and cheese I've ever had.
I think it was a vegan situation too.
There's no way they were fake eggs. Some of it could have been.
Not vegan. What am I thinking of? Vegetarian.
Like the meat it was like fake bacon.
Yeah, like plant-based.
It was so good. And then the cinnamon bun, I'm amazing. John and I, we both have addictive personalities, so all you can do is laugh. Every day since Monday, John has asked me if I want to go to Modern Bagel to get another cinnamon bun.
No. Like
every last
New York local
day.
People, I'm sorry if you're not, because we just have to do a quick plug moment for this too.
Modern Bread and Bagel.
I'm like mad that I just discovered it.
It's all gluten-free. And it's gluten-free cinnamon roll and the best cinnamon roll I've ever had in my life.
So I didn't have the cinnamon bun last time we went. I need to try it.
No, I actually was like, I audibly gasped. John thought something was wrong, and I was like, it's actually that good. And I'm not somebody that like makes happy noises when I eat, but it was that good.
No, so I was trying to think of what to send you for your birthday because I was going to do flowers, but then I was like, they die, like whatever. One of my New Year's resolutions was to be a better gift giver because I'm not historically good at it.
Yeah.
And just to be more thoughtful about like occasions and birthdays and things like this. So I was like, I got to send Caroline something. I missed the mark on a literal gift we did the US Open. I feel like that was a fun little moment.
That was so fun.
But
that was like what kicked off my birthday week. I had a great time. Yeah, that was a fantastic day.
But I was like, okay, what do I get her? She's the girl who has everything, you know? But I still do want to get you like an actual gift. But okay.
No.
So
you know what you can get me as an actual gift you want? I was just talking about this before they hit record is the boom
embroidered
covers for the Honey We're Home
Oh,
thing. Like,
okay.
you know how badly I want those.
Yeah, you do.
And that is a gift for me, not for us, because you really could care less.
No, like it's one of those things like I'll love it once it's here, but I'm not going to go out of my way.
Absolutely
but for you,
not.
I will.
Yeah.
But no, so I was like, what do you send a friend? And then I was like, duh, food. And I was searching around for all these gluten-free things. And I was going to do the Baked by Melissa cupcakes, those mini little, but it was like,
this, and I had been wanting to try Modern Bread and Bagel. I have a friend that really is truly gluten-free, like not like fake like us.
Yeah, like we're fake.
And she has been recommending Modern Bread and Bagel for almost 2 years. The problem is they're closed on Saturdays. And so every single time we're together and we're like, we should get bagels, they're closed because it's a Saturday. So it has just been terrible coincidence after coincidence that I haven't been able to try it. So to wake up on my birthday and to get to try it I was like, this is a win.
Yeah. And I coordinated with John before.
Oh, yeah.
It was funny because I was thinking about like how we have talked about like the only times it's acceptable to text like a friend.
Yeah. And it is. Yeah.
And I was like, if Caroline like sees like me lighting up,
I'm
going
to
to
know what it
phone,
is. I would
like,
have
she'll
known.
definitely know. But I was like, do you guys have breakfast plans? And he was like, no. And I was like, good. I'm just gonna shut. And then I go overboard with food because you have to have options. And bread,
It was
you can
cool.
freeze.
It was
like
like
I
a
was like, they're
whole
not gonna
spread.
eat 27 pastries in one sitting.
No, I think we made sandwiches with the bagels the next day for
they're
lunch.
so good.
It was really good. I thank you so much. It was great.
Was I really friend of the week?
Yeah, that was a great surprise.
So friends are low key getting worse at birthdays. Can we just say that?
I have noticed, but some friends aren't, so there's like a drastic difference.
I know. Some of my friends used to be really good at them, and now they're not as much.
Yeah. Do you know who's so great at birthdays? Is my high school friends. I don't know if it's just like there's like such a deep love there.
Yeah.
But like they sent me flowers from Pop-Up Florist, which is like my favorite freaking florist. And they're so nice. Like that is such a privilege to receive those flowers. And like,
see, I knew you'd already have flowers.
and that was so great. And then Jenna sent me flowers. Like there are like, I don't know. You either get better at it or worse at it. I think I've gotten worse.
Well, for me to like sit here on my high horse and be like, my friends, I'm like, you get what you give. And so I feel like I've sucked at birthdays.
That is true.
I will say something about my northern, like New York, Long Island friends that are from there. They've always been really good at gift giving, at giving. Like Brooke, shout out to Brooke. She's from Long Island. She's a thoughtful
That's sweet.
giver.
I wonder what it is about that.
I really think it's that like the Long Island's mentality. Like it's like more is more mentality. Kind of.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think that's sweet with birthdays. I mean, I personally felt so loved this birthday because my high school friends again are just so great. Like they like sent me packages and stuff. I mean, I just was like, what in the world?
So
I felt so loved. So I was like, that's fantastic. One of my sisters on the other hand, Sarah, didn't call me. And now we're beefing. I called her at midnight on my birthday, which I want to do a quick recap for my birthday week.
Yeah.
Because I have great ideas out of this.
I want to do the whole episode about your, just kidding. No. We won't. But we need to discuss John and Camp Caro.
Okay.
Because let me just say the bar is set and it is set high.
Yeah.
This is where girlies, listen up. This is where you take the podcast, you turn the volume up all the way.
Yeah. Right
and you
here.
put the phone that you're listening to us on loudly in the kitchen, the living room, the main area, the den for your significant other to hear.
Yeah, okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the thing. When you're like a really good wife, which I like to think that I am.
Yes.
And you do a really good job planning your significant other's birthdays, it's really nice to see them put that amount of effort back in towards you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that I've never explicitly like said, but I think I've just shown through action how big of a deal I think that his birthday is and how loved I want him to feel. Mm-hmm. It's like taken me years to figure out what makes him feel the most loved like on his birthday, but I will like continue to learn, like, because my goal is like you should just feel like the most loved you can possibly feel.
I love that.
And so
beautiful.
this year, John like really stepped it up. He was like, we're going to do a whole week of birthday things because we can't go away on a trip. And so we're going to like do something here. The first thing he did is he took off the entire week.
So pause.
Yeah.
Because I still to this day, to this second, it's hard for me to even wrap my head around this. I think it's so beautiful. I'm inspired. But I think not to be like, I feel like I'm sounding pick me, but like I've been so conditioned to like work. I've never even taken off one day for my own birthday, which I feel like is a normal thing. Like but like when you told me John was taking off the week, I go, why? Yeah. You go for my birthday. I go, oh, wait, but you're not going anywhere. You go, I know. I go, but my head couldn't wrap around.
So we were going to go somewhere. And then the closer and closer it got, we were like, it doesn't make sense. As you guys know, we're like moving all this stuff.
Yeah,
that's super expensive. Like we're just like, it doesn't make sense. And he looked at me and he was like, okay, well, we might not go anywhere, but regardless, I am taking this whole week off. Like I'd planned to take it off so we can go somewhere, and that's not changing. Okay. So if we don't go anywhere, it's going to be like a staycation of a week. This is not something he's ever done before. Like he's never had a week in New York not going to work, which is like pretty exciting for him.
Yeah. And he probably loves it.
Yeah, loves it. I told him last night, I was like, you should sit down and write down like takeaways from like this week. Yeah. Like what do you like kind of want to incorporate into your work-life balance? Because you've had like a full week to sort of like float around and figure out more of what you like to do in the city. But he took the whole week off, and that has been crazy and fun and amazing. And then he did this thing called Camp Caro, which I named it, but like he'd already done the whole thing. And he got a huge...
Say, you had to have some influence in this.
Well, we went to lunch one day, and I was like, I have an idea, and it's called Camp Caro. And he essentially was like, please stop talking. Like, shut up. Like, if you speak anymore, you're going to think that everything I planned, I only did because you said it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let him have some creative liberty.
So he did this, and he created this huge like graphic, which was actually cute with a cute font. No, we were talking about this.
I pressed you on this because I was like, there's no way you did this in Canva. Sorry. But then I remember like John has used Canva before.
Yeah, John's all over my Canva account. I don't know why. You need to get on my Canva account. I'm always trying to get you to get on it for the graphic. I know, but I need you to get on mine so that when we do the graphics, we're aligned.
I go rogue on my own.
I have like a whole family of people under my Canva business account.
No, so I'm just laughing because I can't even. I'm picturing Mike using Canva. I don't know why it's so funny to me.
It would be. Imagine the TikTok queen cake on like a Canva poster.
Oh, you got Camp Caro. I got the Instagram cake.
No, I never forget. That was cute. But we did Camp Caro, and each day he peeled back like a new activity, and they were like small but really cute activities to make each day really special. One thing I learned is that the Rooftop Cinema Club, if you live in a city that has it, do it. Like it is, I tried to do it for John's birthday. He wasn't really like buying it, and I get it. It's June, it's hot. Mm-hmm. We finally did it. I was a little nervous it was going to be overrated. Underrated. 10 out of 10 date night.
So yeah, you made a video about this. It looked fun. It was just, to recap for the listeners who didn't see, it was just like a cinema or a movie on a rooftop in the city?
Bunch of, it's literally called, the company's called Rooftop Cinema Club, and it exists in quite a few cities.
I'm doing it.
The one here randomly is like on the third floor rooftop of the Embassy Suites in Midtown. I don't know how they secured that deal, but that's where it is.
Stunning.
It's so cute. So it's like $25-$30 for a ticket, and nowadays movie tickets are like $18 anyways.
No, it's $100 to go to the movies.
It's so expensive. Popcorn comes with your ticket, and it's like actually a really big popcorn, and you get a lounge chair like with a cushion.
Important with the popcorn.
Yeah, it was I mean, I was like more excited about that than anything. I don't know why. You get a lounge chair. We brought a blanket, and they give you noise canceling headphones to hear the movie. That was a big concern of mine. I was like, how are you going to hear it?
Smart.
And we watched When Harry Met Sally, and it was such a fun date night. Like we went and got wine at the bar, and it was fabulous.
Yeah, this just mixes it up because, as we've said before, like Mike and I go to the movies all the time, like the theater. Not all the time, like sometimes, but it just doesn't feel like a date night because you're just going into a theater, you're sitting there, you're getting the popcorn, and you're like sitting and watching the movie even more silently than you would watching a movie at home.
Yeah.
So it's still, you're just kind of like, oh, I miss you after it because we were together, but were we? Like, I don't know. So this feels more of like, if for those of you that like a movie date night, this feels like a perfect mix of it.
It was very rom-com-y.
Yeah.
I also suggest if you're in New York, I would do this specific thing this fall. I would go to Cafe China, which is right there because I love Cafe China, and then I would go to Rooftop Cinema Club for a movie. And if you're in a different city and they have Rooftop Cinema Club, like find a restaurant you want to go before the movie, then go to the movie after. It was super romantic. It was a way to make something like that could be mundane
I love
extremely sweet.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it was.
What else
really
was
fun.
on the agenda?
We did yesterday we went to lunch at the Boathouse in Central Park.
We took our engagement photos there, but only got drinks forever ago.
And that was really, really cute.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of lunches like at places that you really can't get into for dinner. So we went to Via Carota for lunch the day before.
I like a lunch better than dinner anyways.
I do too. So that's kind of been the highlight of my week.
That's so fun.
Yeah. But I've enjoyed it.
You look refreshed.
I
think glowing.
I think I look younger.
Yeah, you do. I look like
I told
I've aged
you I was going to go
17
backwards.
years.
No, you don't.
No, like I've had quite the opposite week. It's not even like the New York Fashion Week of it all. I'm like already over. Like it's like random things. I've been burning the candle at both ends, as my mom used to say.
Which we actually just discussed you not doing that.
Oh, I'm burning it. I went to bed at 2 a.m. last night, woke up at 7 this morning. If you do the math, that's 5 hours of sleep, not even REM, because it takes a minute to kick into that. Oh, I'm just running on pure espresso. And I look tired.
You don't look tired.
Well, I wonder why the skin. Well, because at the event I was just at, there was a makeup touch-up lady, and I sat right down in that chair.
Yeah, you were like, please.
I said, I got to record. Touch it up.
Please do.
So, yeah.
But you don't look old at all.
Thank
I
you
just
so much.
feel younger. And I said that last week. I said I think 30 is younger than 29, and I'm
It
here to.
fully is.
I've lived to tell you that I think it is.
Well, and then I was listening to Jake Shane's podcast, Therapist, which I feel like
freaking love
keeps
that
me young.
podcast. Yeah.
I know, it really is good. And he was interviewing Snooki, and at one point he was like, 30s are the new 20s. And I was like,
No, they are.
Wow.
20s are extremely confusing, especially when you take into account COVID. Like the whole thing for me is a wash at this point. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to discuss it. I feel younger at 30 than I did at 29. I felt elderly at 29. I felt confused. Like 30, just like things are just making a little bit like more sense. And I'm also less stressed. The best advice I got about turning 30, my acupuncturist gave me this advice. And she said, you can know what you want, but don't plan for it. Like, because I was expressing to her that 30s are like a big decade. Like I was like as excited as I am. When you think about it, more like impactful events could potentially happen in your 30s and your 20s. Like we're both already married, but for a lot of people that's marriage.
Yep.
It's kids. It's all of these things that are like huge core moments.
It's also just like figuring out and asking for and achieving more of what you want. Like I feel like in my 30s, I've already become a little more confrontational in the best way possible and actually like been more inclined to just say what I want and ask for what I want, which I guess it's just because time is of the essence as you age more and more. But like, I don't know. I feel like in my 20s, I was like tiptoeing around, often afraid to be
maybe we're like less scared to go get what we want.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that would make sense because what she expressed to me was for some reason, it's like you just know that you want these things and they will come to you. She's like, when I turned 30, I knew that I wanted to get married and have kids and have a house someday. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea how I'll get there. And now she's like 32, getting married, like putting offers in on a home, all of these things. And she's like, they just start to happen. Like, don't spend your time worrying about what you want to achieve in your 30s. Like, just let it come to you.
Yeah.
Because like those are the years, maybe things just start to come a little bit more naturally to you in your 30s because you've already built like that whole foundation.
Yeah. Well, and I think like Nikki Novo in our manifestation episode was saying, go listen if you haven't listened. I think like she was saying, you start to move more through the world with more bravado in a good way. Like you kind of start to just like be less insecure as you age. You start to literally, I think scientists have proven that you have less of a filter when you age.
Oh, yeah,
so that's
yeah.
why
Like how old people
will
just
say
yeah.
whatever the fuck comes to mind. Like,
yeah.
But like this is the age where we have less of that filter, but we still have some of a filter. So we're like at that appropriate mark where we're still like being appropriate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just like you're able to move through the world better.
I agree. I like it.
Yeah.
We kind of chatted about this before, but what show are you watching right now?
You put Love Island in here, and I had a panic because I was like, You haven't
the
seen
only
person on the planet who doesn't watch Love Island.
It took me about a month and a half to convince John to start watching it with me, and now he's hooked, and he's not a reality TV guy.
So for those of those listeners out there who are like me and have never watched it, but we stay abreast. Like, I know who Leah is. I know who Rob is. That's like all.
Yeah.
But I stay abreast with the news of pop culture, so I've seen them, obviously. Love Island, to me, I haven't even, like, looked into it to figure out where I would enter into the franchise.
No. I'm only watching that season.
Oh.
Like, I just heard this season is great, and so then I was like, I want to watch it. There are a ton of episodes. I'm super late to the train. And then it took like 4 different guys that John's friends with to say that they've been watching it with their girlfriends and wives. And then John one day was like, fine, I'll freaking do it. And now we're both hooked. And it's a great couple show because you're both just sitting there like,
I need that.
Jaw agape. And we're like looking at each other and we're like, we've been married for too long because we're like in shock at how these people behave. But it's so far removed from our lives that I think that's what makes it funny.
Okay.
Like, it can't give you anxiety because it's just like there's no chance on God's green earth that like you could be privy to an experience such as they are having.
Okay. I'm going to have to check it out. But I like that it's a couple show. I never thought of it like that. And also, like, it sounds so intimidating. Like, I've heard people say Love Island UK, Love Island Australia. And I was like, which one are we supposed to be watching?
Yeah.
There's the US, which I guess this one is. So maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll start with US, grab Mike.
Yeah.
We're not reality. Mike's going to take some convincing.
No. So do you know what also helped? Is that Odell Beckham Jr.'s little brother is on the show. So then like that was a little bit of a selling point for John. Like, okay, like football. Whatever. It became like relevant. And then
that's the best when we have to use an athlete to like get our men interested in something.
Yeah, when we have to take a course on manipulation just to get them to do something with us.
No, that'll get Mike. Which we'll save this for another episode. But football season started yesterday. Apparently,
it did, and we watched a game. We're looking at apartments, and we're looking in the Upper West Side.
I left Mike at home and went out.
He probably watched. Don't you think?
I know he watched. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I'm watching Tell Me Lies on Hulu. I just started season 2 last night. I got 5 minutes into the episode and fell asleep because I started it at 1 a.m. So, but I will say I think a lot of people are watching it too because I posted a story about it and everybody flooded my DMs being like, oh my God, I need to hear your thoughts on it once you start, blah, blah, blah. So I really think we should all watch that and do like a watching discussion moment.
Okay, we could do that.
Yeah, so it's really good. It's about toxic relationships. And then I got a PR package for this show and I forgot about it. I saw a trailer for it. It looks so good. The Perfect Couple on Netflix.
I saw the red carpet event, I think.
Yeah, they've been doing press. Nicole Kidman, Dakota Fanning, Megan Fahey.
Oh, that's it.
The cast is stacked.
I love anything with Nicole Kidman in it.
I know.
I really, really like her.
And it's a series. I thought it's about a wedding on Nantucket.
Do you know what's throwing me a little bit is Tell Me Lies sounds a little bit too much like Big Little Lies.
I know. It's very different though.
And I read Tell Me Lies, the book.
Really?
I didn't know it was
Little Lies.
I thought it was no, I read Tell Me Lies, which was a book.
It's about
book
college
club like years ago. Yeah.
No,
I know. I read it in book club like 5 years ago. So it's a series, not a movie, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we could discuss it regardless. I don't even know if I remember the book that well.
No, like I need to do a refresher before I start discussing.
Yeah, okay.
Me like half awake.
I mean, that book gave me extreme anxiety. Like there are affairs and stuff in there.
Yeah.
I don't live for that kind of thing. I'm too much of a Virgo for that. My heart palpitations go through my chest.
Yeah. See, I like that because it feels like an escape. I like drama.
What?
I like tea.
What kind of escape? You like live to have nightmares. don't you?
No, but I do love this time of year. Speaking of nightmares.
Because you like horror stuff.
I love horror stuff.
Something's wrong with you.
I love Halloween, like almost debatably more than Christmas. No, I mean, I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong. Not as I'm not like believing in
Don't
Santa
say
like
such
you.
outlandish things, Nicole.
But I love Halloween and fall time. Like, I love autumn. I love Gilmore Girls. I love putting that on.
I do like that, but I'm just talking about scary stuff. Like, there's like a look that I get in my eye that John knows, and I'll be like, he'll just turn the thing off because he knows that I'm starting to internalize whatever's happening on a show, especially if it's about like people cheating. Like, I just like, I'll start like twitching at some point, and he's like, we're done. Like, I get so anxious watching that. That does not bring me peace, joy, happiness, and love.
Oh, it does to me because it's just like you said with Love Island, like far from life. So you're like, oh, I'd like to watch other people.
Oh,
but
sometimes
back
stuff
to
is
back
too
to
real.
horror because
Yeah.
So we'll get more into this as we get more into the fall. I really want to have a stacked like fall calendar, and every year Mike and I talk about doing all these things, and we check like half of them off the list. But like we're big haunted house people. Do you do haunted houses?
Yeah, I won't be going to that with you.
Oh, so we're big on that. Like, we always go to at least one haunted house every fall.
Right. You have been wanting to see me poop myself, and that will be when.
What are you talking about?
It's scary.
No, I mean, yeah, they're terrifying. So we're going to do one of those. Every year, we've talked about going to the Philadelphia Penitentiary. Have we ever talked about this to you? Because we talk about it to anybody who will listen. It's this insane asylum that they've converted into a haunted house in Philly.
Yeah, you have discussed. If you were a boy, or if I were, like, we could never be in a relationship.
No, so I mean, I'm a huge
like,
wimp at these things. I don't want you to think I'm like walking in all brave. I can't even like stand up in a haunted house. Mike has to carry me through.
So what kind of thrill are you chasing?
I don't know.
It's a little psychotic.
It's like a drug. But this year, Mike was like, this is the year we do the Philadelphia Penitentiary. So I will keep you guys posted. And if you've done it, please let us know.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I need to know.
Yeah, we'll get more into fall activities. I'm more of a take the train up to Vermont and pick pumpkins girl myself. But
we love that too. I do the Maryland Renaissance Festival. I talked about it a lot in the Jenna episode. So my sister, not Jenna Bykoff. So if you guys didn't hear, that's a fall activity. Mike and I did a ghost tour in Boston of all the haunted hotels, which was so fun. I want to do the Salem witch trials. I'm going to go out there. Salem, Massachusetts.
You're definitely our fall guru. I can go all the way around for stuff when we get to Christmas time, but I'm just gonna let you keep the fall thing for yourself because I have nothing to add.
I want to be Christmas too.
Okay, I have nothing to add for fall, but I'm excited to hear more.
No, but you do like the pumpkin things is fall. That counts.
There's not really a fall in the South. I didn't really grow up with a fall.
Oh,
So I don't have
that checks.
Yeah.
Same though. I grew up in Florida.
It's like faux fall. There's like nothing. There's really nothing for me to add.
So you would
there.
think that would actually backfire and make you more of a fall person now.
For some people it does, but I'm so attached to Santa Claus that I just have nothing to say.
Well, that too. Like I grew up in Florida till I was 11, and snow was never a thing.
Right. Like for me, that was why I was like snow. Like winter is for me. Christmas time, like being in love with New York growing up as a kid meant I was super in love with the idea of New York and Christmas time.
Yeah.
Or even like being in love with a city such as like Paris during the winter, like Paris during Christmas time. Like when I think about the cities that I love, I want to see them during Christmas time. When I think about things I didn't see growing up, I want to see snow. Like I wasn't as attached to like the leaves changing.
Yeah.
All my eggs are in that basket.
love this time of year. I think I'm a happier person as we go into fall and winter than I am in summer, because summer is all about comparison over the European trips and who's going out to the Hamptons and all these things, keeping up with the Joneses. And I just think like fall is when everybody just like settles the fuck down.
Right.
Decides to not travel for 2 seconds, like enjoys their hometown, does the pumpkin patches, wholesome things, bakes a apple crisp. And so I would love for us to do a whole fall episode. Fall activities, fall watch list, TV show, movies.
That's good.
And fall recipes.
Okay, I like that. Okay, I think we should get into our
Yes.
continued discussion from last week. If you are listening, maybe we'll put a marker in for you to like jump to this portion of the episode if you just are like anxious to get back into this. But last week we introduced a conversation that one of our listeners is having with her husband. And basically they have long planned on having children, and what's happening now is that he's seemingly embraced a new perspective, and he's communicated that he's sort of reconsidering and changing his mind about parenthood following it's a little confusing for her because it's following his brother like having a kid, and for her it's made her more excited for parenthood, and for him it's made him like sort of withdraw. So we did this whole episode on it. You can go back and listen if you want. Something fun that we're doing is like taking into consideration listener perspectives and advice throughout like an ongoing event, so we can sort of try to have like a more wholesome conversation about it. We did get a bunch of stuff from you guys, and so we wanted to expand on the conversation. The first thing that I think is helpful is the point of like destigmatizing the conversation and having it both ways. So a child-free by choice listener, I should clarify, made a really good point and sent us an email that was like from a wonderful perspective, where she said, you really should be discussing the deeper meaning behind your decision to not only not have kids, but to have kids.
Yeah.
So her point was, a lot of people you'll find are having children because it's just so embedded in us to like reproduce, etc., that there's never any real conversation about like, what is the meaning behind you wanting to be a parent? Are you meant to be a parent? Is this something that's going to fulfill you and serve you? Have you even given your partner the space to have the conversation to discover that they don't want it, so that it's not like taking you by surprise later? So I feel like that was a good point. Do you want to read her little submission?
Sure. She said, "Hi, ladies. I wanted to reach out with maybe an alternate POV on your listener submitted question regarding changing mind about children. I think that conversation is so important, and although really, really difficult, one that more people should be having. As women, we are socialized to grow up and raise a family, and oftentimes that removes our sense of agency from the situation. To stop and have the real conversation about whether kids are truly wanted is so important and does not happen enough. For context, I am child-free by choice. My husband and I have had the conversation over many, many years, and we both reserve the right to change our minds and have frequent check-ins. It is a principle of our relationship. This choice has earned so much scrutiny from our families to coworkers to strangers. We are constantly required to defend this decision and are often met with, 'You'll change your mind,' or something of that nature. This is a cliche among child-free groups, but if every parent were asked to defend their choice, they'd often have difficulty explaining their decision because parenthood and motherhood especially is so compulsory." Love that word.
Yeah, I liked that word
like
too.
big vocab.
Yeah.
"Not everyone needs or should be a parent, and it merits as serious a conversation as choosing to be child-free does. I have compassion for your listener who is dealing with these sentiments from her husband, but I think those conversations are so important, and even if they are not able to come to an agreement, more people should be confronting the massive decision around parenthood with that level of dissent. It may be worthwhile to have a child-free by choice guest on the pod. I love Lindsay Silberman and Katie Storino, but there are many out there." And real quick, at the end of this, I feel like, we didn't include this, but at the end of this, she did note that she was a little like hurt by my one comment that I made where I said how I have friends that didn't think they wanted children and then met the right guy and then suddenly did.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to this listener, obviously I would never ever say anything to intentionally hurt any of you. I love you guys more than anything for listening to us. So I really, truly did not mean for that to be hurtful at all. I just to clarify that point that I was saying, first of all, I was comparing, I remember, because I edited the episode and I was like, I did say that. I was comparing to your situation when John told you and faked you out that he didn't want kids.
Right.
So basically I was talking about how Caroline is one of my friends that has my one friend who has truly never questioned having kids or not, as compared to I have had friends who have questioned it and then literally have met a guy and wanted. I have two friends who are in that, who questioned having kids and then met a guy and they're like, actually, now that I love my husband, I like want them suddenly. I also have friends who never want kids and have met a guy who they love and still choosing to never want kids. And that is totally fine. Like, so just wanted to clarify, I would never try to hurt you guys.
But I think it's a great point from a different perspective. Yeah. Because I feel like the nature of the show is redefining like what each of our roles look like as a person, as a spouse, as an individual, based on like our unique needs and perspectives and honestly like wants, sort of like everybody making their own rules. It's so empowering. So like with that comes a lot of women that are so much more self-aware and intuitive on what they want and feel empowered and strong enough to stand up and say like, this is not something that I want. I don't want to be a parent, and it doesn't take away from like my womanhood at all. Yeah. And then finding that communication like she has with a partner where they can be so honest with each other and give the safe space to have the conversation. And so I did look at both of those women, and they would be really fun to have on the show. They're both so unironically like founders of these really cool companies. Yeah. So like so successful. I'm sure like they would be fun and great to talk about, you know, like everything with. But it is a really interesting thing to say, like, why aren't we having this conversation? So like, why are we like made to prove why we don't want kids to a partner or a spouse, but you're not ever sitting down to prove why you
do want them.
That
is such a good point. And I mean, it's so fucking annoying. I feel her pain in some way. Like you'll change your mind. Like I just know from being
it's 31, kind of degrading.
Already getting married. I have friends of, you know, parents' friends. It's usually the older generations and stuff, family, aunts, uncles, whoever, who literally have like texted me and been like, when are you and Mike starting? And you're like, oh my God, what if we never wanted to start, which we do, but I'm like, just everybody, whoa. Like it is, and so I can't imagine
it's assumed that you're going to do it unless communicated otherwise. We don't go into this with like neutral ground. Like there's no letting someone communicate, you know, one way or the other, you know, that we've decided to or not to. It just assumes you're going to unless you prove otherwise.
And admittedly, I feel guilty and bad because for my friends that are child-free by choice, when they first told me this like years ago, my first inclination, I was like, wait, no, why? You'd be such a good mom though. Like, come on. Like I made them justify. And I feel like we're all just so ingrained to do that. And
I agree.
It's kind of like
I read this and I was like, wow, I'm guilty of everything she just said.
Yeah. And I still to this day, like when people I meet say they don't want kids, I did this recently.
Don't you go, like, I'm like, why?
In the nicest way possible. I was like, but you'd be such a good mom if you ever do. And I don't know, that probably.
And I'm like, now I'm rethinking this. I'm like, that's just not like, we should refrain. Yeah. Because when someone says to me, oh, we're trying for kids, I don't say why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm not comfortable saying why to you trying for kids, then I really shouldn't be comfortable saying why to you not trying for kids.
Yeah. Like I feel for this listener because that must get so annoying having to like justify it left and right. But it's funny because when you do justify it, like when my friend who's child-free by choice justified it to me when I was like, but why? It made so much sense. She was like, I just remember her saying, like, she was like, I don't want to change my life. I like my life the way it is. I want to be able to do what I want to be able to do without having children. Like, I was
and then
like,
there's this conversation about that I see online all the time, and I don't have any input on it. I just see this conversation a lot about how, like, some people aren't meant like to be parents, and I've noticed this is a conversation that typically happens surrounding people who are already parents, and maybe like something has happened along the lines of like them realizing that like maybe they shouldn't have been. And then sometimes I see the conversation from the child side. I'm not in a position to have had kids to be able to say that about myself yet, or to have been a child that is gone through something that would also make me question that. So I've really no grounds to speak on it other than the fact that like I have noticed that as a conversation, and her email has like sort of enlightened me to say, why are we only having that conversation with ourselves after we've already had children?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like we'll be able to advise better on these things when we do have our own children, to be able to like think back on that process of like going through it.
So the next input that we got, which I think is pretty relevant to, you know, the predicament that our listener is in, is sort of surrounding the fear of imminent change, which is driving, you know, the current situation, and about like giving your partner a safe space. I feel like this makes a lot of sense for stage of life. It's similar to, and I think I've shared this on here before, but like how approaching marriage, like really like when it becomes very real that you're going to get married, can sometimes spark anxiety in you, and it has nothing to do with your partner or your marriage not being for you. But like if you're someone from divorced parents, like as that phase of life gets closer and your only real example, you know, is something that hasn't ended well, you might find sort of unresolved feelings coming up and having to deal with it as like that's something that you're approaching in your own life. And I felt like it's interesting to see that could also be some like a sentiment that's taken into this phase of life as well. Like it's almost like following us. But this listener said, I listened to this week's episode in the segment about wanting kids changing your mind, and it resonated with me a lot. I've been married almost a year, but with my husband for over 7, and we've always had conversations about kids since the start. We both said we wanted them 100%. Over the past 3 years while planning our wedding and post-wedding, we have both had moments where we turn to each other and say we're unsure about kids. Sometimes we both have felt it, other times just one. We talked it out a lot, and I think that we are just nervous as it becomes more of a reality that we could be heading into that phase of life soon and what it entails. We've spent many years living in Hoboken/Weehawken, and shout out to Hoboken, and being able to do whatever we want when we want. Pop into the city spontaneously, go out to dinner, go on a trip. And with a child, that changes. In the end, we know we will have kids and do want that one day. But I think it is a fear of change that drives those feelings, at least for us. I've spoken to friends who have felt the same, so I think it's quite common. So hoping the same for the listener who wrote in. My takeaway from this is like we're genuinely just like all on the same boat.
No, I heard this. I mean, I feel like very similar. No, and I think the whole, like, the reason last week's email was so, like, jarring to us was because that listener stated that her and her husband had discussed having children. They were both on the same page. And then suddenly, once deep into the marriage, her husband not only told her that he didn't want to have kids anymore, he's been sitting on this and not telling her it for a year. Like that was the jarring thing too.
Yeah.
But a really jarring thing was that he bait and switched her. He said, I do want him, and then I don't. This is completely different. Like the fact that her and her husband, I think this is actually a really common scenario. Like I think a lot of couples are on the same page about not really being sure, and they look at each other and say like, let's just see how it goes. And then they get into their marriage and one of them might want kids, one of them might not. And then they kind of discuss it as an ongoing basis then. And that's fine. Like I'm the type of person where I would need to know more of a firm yes or no. But this is very common. Like I
think that what she's saying is actually what this listener is saying. I think the main difference is communication skills.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like it's okay not to know for sure.
No, but she's saying that they knew for sure, and then over the past 3 years, like for the first 4 years, they were like 100%, and over the past 3 years, one or the other has sort of been like, I might be changing my mind.
Yeah, but they're talking about it.
That's the difference, and I think that it's just funny and it's ironic that now we're sitting here talking about it. Like her writing in initially, like the initial listener writing in, and like, honestly having the courage to be like, this is what I'm going through, what do you think, has opened this whole Pandora's box about like, I guarantee you that she's not sitting here talking about this with her friends in the capacity that they've shared similar experiences. Like she probably isn't aware that like a lot of people are going through this. Like I would have never said, oh wow, we went through that last year.
Yeah.
Like, and then this girl saying, well, we kind of went through that. Now we're seeing like multiple different approaches to what going through it looks like. Yeah. But it feels like the main difference here is that like her spouse, if he, like, let's say if he was the first person to have this feeling, or maybe it's because she was the first person to have the feeling, she went to him immediately and said, I'm having this feeling.
Yeah.
And because with like listener A, he waited an entire year to communicate reservations, Like, the lesson here is, like, you need to be able to communicate openly with your partner.
Yeah. I think, like you said, it's important to talk about with friends, with this podcast, because, like, it just helps normalize and make things more relatable and be able to learn from other people going through similar situations and learn how to handle it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's important to just talk about it with each other. It's okay to change your mind, but as long as you're talking to each other about it and you're being open about it, and ideally you're on the same page about it with your spouse. Like, it's like, as she's writing in here, she's not saying he definitely suddenly doesn't want and I still really do. They're both looking at each other and they're saying, now we might be unsure, even though we were sure. They both changed their minds together about being 100% sure to being now a little unsure. I think that's totally fine. It's all totally fine. No relationship is going to always be on the 100% the same page ever about anything. And if you are, share your freaking secrets right now. But I think as long as you're generally on the same page, and the best way to do that is simply communicating. Not simply.
I honestly would argue you don't need to be on the same page, but you do have to communicate. Like, I think the problem of not being on the same page is that it builds resentment, and the resentment comes from not communicating. Like, if our listener's husband had come to her initially a year ago and said, I'm just going to be real with you about what I'm feeling, instead of giving it a year to like, he had an entire year to think about this.
From the last episode.
Yeah, from the last episode. He had an entire year to think about this without communicating it to her. He got to go through all the emotions. He wasn't giving her the same grace to, like, process her emotions on the subject. Like, there was no conversation that he was having with his spouse. This was, like, a singular decision that he, like, made on his own and became steadfast in it over the course of a year. And that is grounds for resentment. Like, but if there had been more open communication from the start, even if he was like, I really strongly feel this, and she was like, I don't, at least the, like, communication lines are open, because you can get to the bottom of something if you're talking about it.
I hear you, but I also, like, I'm just trying to put myself in her shoes. If Mike had definitely told me, marry me, I 100% want 3 kids. We're having 3 kids. I can't wait for that future with you. I would have said, I do. Love that. Let's get married. Yay. Love you first and foremost, but also love that future painted together. And then if you come to me and say, just kidding, been thinking about it for a year and I suddenly don't, I would kind of kindly tell him to fuck all the way off, because that's such a drastic yes to no.
But, like, what would you, like, my question to you is, like, are you just going to let him say that to you and be like, okay, I want a divorce? Or are you going to, like, try to...
No,
like,
no. I would try to work through it and try to figure out
why. But that's
why.
what I'm saying is the point, is that all these people, like, for you to not say, this is something I'm going through in my relationship, honestly isolates you. It makes you feel like something's wrong with your relationship and that it's not healthy and that you're the only person going through it. And then say that there are 1,000 people out there all silently going through this, thinking that they're the only one, that it means something's wrong. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to anybody, everyone's going through it. And if they just were able to say, I'm going through this, then it would spiral the next person to say, I am too, and I am too, and I am too.
Yeah.
Now, on one side of it, you all of a sudden don't feel like something is majorly wrong in your relationship. You just feel like this is 2 humans going through life together, and, like, stuff happens.
I agree. I think it's important for a relationship to tell each other what they're thinking at all times.
But then you get perspectives, because the benefit of this is, like, and then we had some listener, like, cute little responses, not cute, but quick responses. And they were really reflective of this email sentiment of, like, the fear. And honestly, even what I got to the bottom of, what my experience was, that I only could get to the bottom of because of another friend that, like, took the risk to be open and vulnerable with me about her experience, is, like, someone said, ask his why. Go to counseling. If still no, then she said, divorce him. Do what's best for you.
That's what I said in the last episode.
Right. We both said that. But I'm saying, like, instead of saying, wow, like, you've changed your mind, you promised me this one thing, and then now you're, like, taking it away.
No,
it's like,
ask his why.
Yeah, like, you're totally bypassing.
I never said to do that. No, I'm not ever saying, like, fuck off, bye. I would do everything before go into the D word, I would do everything possible to figure out. But then if I felt that, like we said in the last episode, if I felt that I was trying to like convince and force him to do the kids thing, then that would defeat me. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm not going to force you to have kids. If you really don't want them, I don't know. But if it's like the why, like you gratefully shared your situation with John saying it suddenly, and you found out the why, and it's like he didn't really mean it, then that's the best case.
I agree.
Scenario.
These are the I think it was kind of surprising. Like a bunch of people said, like one person said, give it more time. I had the same exact issues in my late 20s, and now my husband wants one. So like a lot of people are having this experience more than we think. And then someone said, think about the decision. And this is a good piece of like takeaway advice. Like it could actually help. Ask him to think about the decision from a values perspective instead of a fear perspective. Or, you know, he's probably scared and nervous, like go to therapy, like work it out. I feel like it's a fear-based reaction to seeing the trials of his brother parenting his nephew. Yeah. Like you've got a lot of stuff that's coming from fear. You did touch on something though where you were like, if it turns into a force.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to beg you to give me baby.
Because then there are situations where it's like, I gave her a kid. She should be happy.
Yeah.
And that is something you don't want to get yourself into. No. And it brings us to an email we got that is genuinely about changing your mind about marriage. And it's on the same sentiment of forcing someone into a decision and what to do when you really love that person. But this is what the relationship has become. And that is, it is a beautiful segue into this because it is showing kind of what two people genuinely ending up on different pages looks like as the relationship progresses and how it plays out and how it can be like extremely sickening. I'm not sure if you'd cover this as most of the readers are probably married, but I started dating my partner when I was 22. And on our first date, we discussed marriage and kids. Along the years, we have discussed marriage and he has said what he would like at our wedding. He's even said he's cried at other weddings, picturing me walking down the aisle. We also bought our flat 2 years ago. So when we were 26, we were in a mortgage together. We have now been together for just about 6 years, and last year around November when I asked about marriage, he said he didn't want to get married. Now that the time has come about, he is no longer sure. His parents are divorced and he has quite a lot of trauma around it, especially as he thinks it makes a relationship worse, quote unquote, his words. I gave him an ultimatum. So now we're kind of seeing how this like plays out when people are not on the same page. I know not healthy, and he did buy a ring. However, he still hasn't done it and is still unsure. He's come close to it, but I've also not been easy about it. When he has come close to doing it, I tend to sabotage it because I've resented him and I have been upset about this situation. I've made him feel like the proposal won't be good or the ring won't be good, even though I don't care at this point. Although I've apologized repeatedly and have said we can just jump in no matter how it happens, he's now unsure and has said no matter how much he loves me, he can't just do this huge thing for me. He needs to want this for himself and he just doesn't know if he wants it. Again, his words. As it's been a year of this back and forth, he says he feels the relationship is too conditional and nothing will be good enough. So why would he commit to this turmoil long term? We're currently not talking about it and are giving it a couple months just to see how we get along and if he changes his mind. However, as a 28-year-old woman who does want kids and marriage, it cannot wait around forever. What do I do?
Yeah, so let me clarify before we even get into this. Not getting married is totally fine. That is not getting married by choice. I'm all for that. Same with the child free by choice thing. All for that. Plenty of friends who just are like, marriage ain't for me. And that is totally cool. For us, I guess it is because we're married. This guy is, I'm sorry to take a hard stance like this. He's pissing me the fuck off. But also, we don't know the full extent of the relationship. He's clearly feeling hesitation that he, I guess, wasn't feeling earlier when he was telling you he's so excited for the wedding, picturing you walk down the aisle, all this stuff. But I get the divorced parents things. I get that more than anybody, having trauma around that, not wanting to rush into anything. But this guy is flip-flopping, and now he's just being
he's gaslighting her.
He's being gaslit. He's being mean, too. I don't like the whole, doing this for you. That I would
And
punch
now
him.
our relationship is like conditional and like you've made it terrible. So now I just can't take this turmoil for the.
Yeah,
do you know
honey,
what
you ain't done anything.
Do you know what I'm feeling right now that's actually kind of frustrating? And I'm realizing this as we're embracing more and more stories. At first I was like, wow, this is what it looks like to really grow with another person. Like you hit rocky stuff, people change their mind,
Yeah.
people change. This is
Normal.
all expected in life. At first I was like, wow, like this is like the real stuff. Actually though, now I'm like, this is so frustrating that every encounter that we've come across thus far, I'm like, I could tell you that I've had the same experience, but I handled it. Like, why are women so in charge of men's emotional intelligence or lack thereof? There is absolutely nothing he has said right there that women have not also experienced, but they haven't looked at their partner. And or for the most part, I don't want to put everyone in a bucket, but for the most part, we're not looking at our partner and gaslighting them as to why I can't do this for you.
Right,
We're
like
going
men-
to therapy.
Men, maybe like think before you speak sometimes.
Right? Like, why are we in charge of your emotional intelligence? Okay,
Yeah.
you're freaking out about having a kid. Now I've got to go talk to all my friends about this and a therapist about this and 1,100,000,000 people online just to like feel reassured in the sentiment and have people chime in and be like, okay, but this is what I found with my guy is that it
Yeah.
was fear and all these things.
And like
then
we wonder why women are often stressed out. Like we have to jump through hoops to like deal with your emotions.
You saw the
men,
thing
while
that's-
you get to sit and watch like football and play video games.
you saw the thing that said that husbands stress women out 40 times more than their children.
Yeah.
Like that literally, like, so now I'm reading this email and I'm like, here we go again. You have, and it's so clear to me that whatever your issue is with marriage is probably just a trauma response. How are you so unemotionally intelligent that you can't sit down and dedicate yourself to becoming self-aware enough to figure it out, then make a decision? Because what you're doing now is putting something that's 100% on you on her.
And I hate to say this, but like you in the listener who wrote in this email, forcing this guy into a marriage right now is not going to help. It's actually going to make things worse. I think you guys have a lot of work to do on this relationship. More importantly, he has a lot of work to do because he's behaving like an asshole.
Well, now she's beating herself up, which is the part that makes me feel like she got gaslit because she said, I gave the ultimatum. I know it's not healthy. I get it, and it probably isn't healthy, and maybe she is really stressed, but I totally understand. Like, I don't want someone to do something for me when they don't want to do it, and I also like don't want to have any woman be made to feel like someone proposing to them is this great big favor that a guy is doing for a girl.
Right, like that takes the fun out of everything.
And him
with it.
making her feel like if he ever did it, it would be for her in the first place is wrong, especially when you spent 6 years of your relationship talking about marriage, making the steps, buying a home together, just to turn, like, are you so cowardly that you would rather gaslight your partner than ask yourself, why do I feel this way?
Yeah. It's honestly like a huge red flag that he's saying these things that he's even saying because they're hurtful. He's being hurtful. He's
Right.
being mean. Like, at the end of the day, do you even want to... This sounds so harsh, and we don't know the full situation, so please don't make any harsh, rash decisions based on what we're saying. But at the end of the day, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to marry you anymore. Like, I don't... This
Same.
is hurtful. Like...
What a hard decision to make those 6 years into a relationship, or even to the listener that's married into your marriage. Like, I can't imagine having to make that decision to leave, though.
Yeah, no, and I'm not telling you guys to just
No, but I
pick
think
up and
I
go.
honestly think that I'm with you. I'm just,
Yeah,
I feel bad because I can't imagine having to make that decision.
yeah. Like, fact of the matter is, like you said, I love that. That's a soundbite right there. Is that you proposing to me is not you doing me a favor. Like that. Let's get one thing straight. I know traditionally it's the man who picks out the ring, buys the ring. Yes. Are we thankful? Are we grateful? Are we blessed? Sure. But
you should have the same
you get
sentiment
to
towards
marry
me.
You get to marry me.
It's a two-way street.
You're welcome.
Right. Like this is not, that's super misogynistic. I think what he's saying reads, it's very misogynistic. I feel very bad for her because I feel like this is probably the majority of their relationship was probably not like this. And now she feels like they're in a slump that they have to get through. But as the relationship progresses, it's just not looking at all like what they planned mutually together for it to look like. And that is truly because this man cannot even simply sit down and ask himself why he feels the way he feels. He would rather gaslight her and manipulate the situation and be cruel and be harsh.
Like if he's feeling this way, a better thing for him to say, and again, we don't know all the context, so keep that in mind. But if I were him and a normal, sane person, I would sit down and be like, listen, I'm really sorry. I'm feeling just like our relationship needs a bit of work before making that next step. And I know this is fucked up of me to say because I did tell you in the past, I'm so excited for you to walk down the aisle, yada, yada. But I would say like, I just think we need to work on our relationship a bit more before this next step. What can I do? What can you do? What can we do together to get our relationship in the best place possible so that both of us feel ready for more of a commitment? And in that case,
that's the perfect thing to say. But I am just even hearing you have to say that to communicate that. I'm so frustrated for her. Yeah. Like she has to deal with all of these emotions, feeling hurt, feeling bait and switched, feeling gaslit, feeling manipulated, honestly feeling like torn down and degraded by his words. She has to deal with how she's feeling and get to the bottom of that. And also dissect what he's feeling and get to the bottom of it so that she can help him get to the bottom of also what he's feeling and what she's feeling at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of messed up.
She says here, as it's been a year of this back and forth, he says he feels the relationship is too conditional.
And that's where it got me in, and that's where I was like, you're being gaslight. It's conditional. They only succeed if he does this thing for her. Like she's only happy if he does this thing for her. Right. And that sentence right there flashed her entire life before my eyes. And again, we don't know the whole story, but I just saw like, okay, it comes to kids and now he's going to pull the same shit. And then it comes to she wants to move or she wants to live closer to her family and he's going to pull the same shit. Like that is if that's the way he moves and operates, there's a lifetime of him like behaving this way out of like what he probably has very valid. His emotions are valid, but his response is not.
Yes. It's the way he's just saying these mean things to her is not he could be handling how he's feeling and communicating that so much better.
But then it's like really where do you call it
in communicating?
Yeah, I think that's what we're noticing because even our input from listeners who have gone through the same child conversations who aren't really in the deep dark depths of sorrow, the main difference we've noticed is that the partner has been willing to have open emotional based conversation with them with like no strings attached, just out of the sake of being transparent. Like transparency seems to be like really key here.
Honey, we're having transparency.
I'm overwhelmed for her and I feel sad for her. So this is a big one. I mean, let us know what you think because I don't really know what to say and I don't know when you're supposed to look at something and say like,
I know what
I pull the plug.
Your usual, involve a mental health professional.
I know that's our biggest thing.
Keep writing in, keep emailing honeywe'rehomepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us at honeywe'rehomepod on Instagram. We're going to start being more active there. So if you're not following, you're going to miss out on some inside jokes, okay?
And if you're a watcher, you can always watch on YouTube at Honey We're Home. All of our videos are uploaded there for you to keep watching. We love you guys and we'll see you next week. Stay hot, honeys.
Cha-ching.